Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 8. First of all, I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers. Hi, you guys. Hope you all are doing well. Before we jump in, I received such a cute gift for baby Lee. It's 2 books, but I don't know who it's from. So I felt terrible because I was like searching to see who it was from so that we can send you a proper thank you. So if it was from one of you, please just email us and let us know that it's from you so that we can say thank you. We really, really appreciate it. All right, so let's jump in. So last night's episode was about the couples getting together for the first time with family and friends since the wedding. So they either, had a housewarming or had like lunch or hung out and just kind of spent time together now that the pressure and kind of like really the wedding is not the time to kind of meet the family because they're meeting each other for the first time in this experiment. So they don't really have time to even figure anything out. That probably is such a blur. So this was like a very relaxed, chill way for them to spend time together so that they can, really get to know the person and also kind of catch up. Because at this point, I believe it's like between day 12 and 15. So nobody has seen them in a couple of weeks, so it's now time to get together. So let's kick it off with the first couple. Mindy and Zach. I'm just gonna jump into them. I usually save them for last, but or I save them for later on. But I'm just gonna kick it off with Mindy and Zach. So Mindy and Zach, listen, I still don't believe in Mindy and Zach as a couple, okay? I don't get the couple's chemistry. It's obvious he's not attracted to her. And I caught a little bit of Unfiltered last night, and I was so glad to hear him say, I think she's attractive, she's just not my attractive. Because here's the thing, it's not about him having to be attracted to her, it's about the way that he's going about it and kind of stringing her along, and now they're having this back and forth and this whole thing that I think is really a waste of time, and I think she'll end up hurt at the end. I don't think he's a nasty guy who really wants to hurt her. I think he doesn't know what to do, and he's kind of just like, inching along rather than committing fully to the process. But then it in itself is hurting her because here she is all in, hoping to be matched with someone who is all in, and she finds herself alone pretty much in this process. So he pretty much says in Unfiltered, I find that, she's attractive, but she's not my attractive. And he mentions the certain type because Jamie asks, what kind of type do you like? And volleyball player, soccer player is what he's saying. So somebody more athletic and also somebody with probably more body, more curves. And people like what they like. So at this point, my issue with Mindy and Zach is that I think it's something that's being drawn on for whatever reason. I mean, I've read a lot of the comments, there's a lot of thoughts about why it's being drawn on. But I think it's more detrimental to string themselves along, especially Mindy, because let's be real, I feel like Zach has made his mind up, than really just cutting their losses and saying, this is not going to work. So that's my issue with them. They spend time together. They get together at the park. They talk about where they are. Zach throws her a bone and kind of wearing the ring again. He wasn't wearing his wedding ring. They still have not moved in together. He is still saying, I'm committed to this. But, actions are not really reflective of his words. And so Mindy's kind of just grasping at straws and saying, okay, I'm going to continue to be all in and see where it goes. That would be a good concept or a decent enough concept if I really felt like Zach was open to the possibility of where it could go. But I don't think that he is. So they get together. They're still trying though. So they're hanging out. And even she has to push for that. Well, what does that look like? What does trying and being committed to the process look like? And he says, like she says, what does the next couple of days look like? And they decide that they're going to spend time together. So they end up doing that, spending time with friends and family, or no, I think it might have just been friends, and they had fun. Of course, her friends are not a fan of his. Understandably so. I think if we all had a friend in this situation, we would be very guarded because we don't want our friends hurt. I heard that Mindy or Zach said something, but I caught the tail end of it and I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. That Mindy said that, okay, let's just live separately or let's get a divorce, based on, I guess, the things that he was saying on the honeymoon, not being attracted to her and kind of like the way that the honeymoon went down. Please like chime in and let me know because I missed that part. But they end up spending time with friends, and then they even take that further on to hanging out at the house, and that's kind of where the episode ends. And they're grilling him, so they pretty much grilled him when they hung out about, why are you not really committed to this process? What does it mean? They're kind of trying to get it out of him without being like, too aggressive. But her friends are not a fan, and they kind of start the same rhetoric at the house, and she puts the pause on that and is basically like, okay, we're not going to do this again. Like, I really love that you guys want to be with us, and you're supporting us, but I don't want this continuation of this type of like questioning, and it's uncomfortable, and you can see Zach is uncomfortable. So we shall see. He makes like this little comment about wine and let's not open this box because it'll give me a reason to come back. Something along the lines of that, which I know he's trying to be cute, but I think it's misleading because the wine is not why you want to come back. It shouldn't be why you want to come back. It should be to spend time with her. And I know that it was like supposed to be cheeky, but the reality is we've heard him say over and over, like, I want to miss her. I want to see her. And the fact that you don't miss her, the fact that you didn't enjoy any time for real on the honeymoon enough to have missed her is already telling. And so you're searching for that. And if it's not there, it's not there. Let's just like cut it right now so that we don't make things worse. I don't necessarily see them developing. I could be wrong, but based on what I'm seeing, he's just not that into her. And that's the risk that you take when you jump into this experiment. You might be matched with someone who does not do it for you initially, and there is the potential to grow and build that connection and build that attraction, but for some it may not happen. It doesn't happen for everyone. So we shall see with Zach and Mindy. All right, next we have Jessica and Austin. So Jessica and Austin, I think they continue to kind of float on by. They spend time with family and friends. We get to see their dynamic when she comes home from work and he's been home earlier, and so she has a longer day, so he's stepping up and like cooking and really trying, and they're trying to balance it out. They're such a new couple. I literally laughed out loud when I watched them go back and forth about who was gonna like unload the dishwasher or something. What? I never argue with my husband about that. Okay, you got it. So it's cute that they're trying to balance each other out. They just have the new couple feels where they want to make sure that each other is feeling supported and not feeling slighted. Jessica can be a little fresh. I'll say, we're from the island, so we'll say like a little fresh in the sense that she like kind of jabs at him a little bit, like, he said a few episodes ago that he really doesn't cook, okay? So he tried, and she was like, well, that's edible. And I was just like, ugh, I wish he would have just jazzed it up a little bit. Like, you don't have to lie, but just wake it up a little bit. We've all had to do that, or not had to do that, but chosen to do that, just to encourage your spouse to do more. Like, the best way, here's the tip, if you want your spouse to do something or to continue to do something, then compliment them, especially from women. From women, men they're not going to, it's easy for us to nag, okay? It's easy for us to say, this is what I want. And this is something I have to be mindful of and something that I do too. But I noticed that when I compliment my husband on things that he does really well or the things that I love that he does, I mean, he's so excited to do it again. And when I am not so complimentary, he'll do it, but it won't be in the same facet. So I wish he would have just like said something a little, or at least followed it up. Okay, if you make a joke, follow it up and say, no, it was really good, or I really appreciate you doing this. But she jabbed a little bit, and then she mentioned something about him not doing laundry, and he got a little spicy, which I like because he's super even keel, where he was like, that's not good enough, or something along the lines of like, I did this, you know. So I think she's gonna be like, that might get annoying. He says he likes it, that she's kind of like, her impatience or her impulsiveness he likes, and he enjoys her kind of taking the lead and being very outspoken. I think that will get annoying. After a while, I think that could be a problem if she doesn't like curtail that. And he also will have to speak up and say, listen, I get it, you like things like this, or you feel like this, but it needs to be expressed in a better way. But this is like little stuff. You know, like the little stuff can be big stuff, but this is not anything that's like a super red flag for me. They're just going to learn as they live together to communicate, but they are very in tune with how they want to like balance each other out. I know that his salary is a thing for her. She's trying to make it seem like it's not. It is a thing for her, but I think she's okay because she feels like he's motivated and he's somebody who wants more for his life, and he wants to excel and be successful and make more money, and that is important to her. So I think that as long as they continue to balance each other out and spend time together and get to know one another and work together, they'll be fine. So that is Jessica and Austin. Next we have, let's see, who do we have? Let's do Taylor and Brandon. So Taylor and Brandon, okay, y'all know I've been ranting about them for the last two reviews. Okay, so Taylor and Brandon, here's the thing. Taylor and Brandon, let's just start here. Taylor and Brandon's family come together. Family and friends come together at their house. They're still not in the best place. We can see that Taylor's very uneasy. Brandon is uneasy because he's embarrassed, and he is following her lead, so much so that he's kind of like not doing much, which she touches on. She touches on towards the end of the episode that, you know, it's kind of like whatever she wants. And she wants him to take more initiative and say, well, I want to do this, or take more of a leadership role and say, let's do this. But Brandon knows he has screwed up so badly that he does not want to rock the boat at all. He just wants to sit on the boat. She could roll the boat off the side of a cliff and he will go with it at this point, because he does not want to cause any more issues. And I think he's scared to, understandably so, but I don't think she recognizes it in that way. I think she feels like he's giving up, but he's really trying not to do any more damage because he knows he's in the doghouse. They're in separate rooms. And he knows that he's like embarrassed himself, embarrassed his family, you know, has offended the other couples because he was nasty on the bus, clearly offended Taylor. So they have a conversation. Of course, Taylor gets together with her friends. She tells them about it. Of course, her friends are appalled. And she really didn't even go into detail like she could have, but she told enough. And everybody gets together and they kind of have this dialogue about this whole thing. So Brandon's family is there, his mom, his aunt, I think maybe another friend if I recall, and then her friends are there, as well as a couple of her family members. I believe they were celebrating her aunt's birthday. So the whole unit was there and they really discussed it. And here's the thing. So to me, when people go to weddings, they come and really like as witnesses of a couple, you're really like silently there to witness and to almost offer like lifelong support of the union. Like if you can do anything that you could to support the union and to be complimentary or to help them, that's kind of like what's silently happening. And I know we've moved so far from that. People want to go to your wedding, turn up, they want a trip if it's like in a good location. Like our wedding was in South Florida, so hello, everybody wanted to come to that. And so it becomes this whole thing and pictures and fun. But really, when you go to somebody's wedding, you are really there in a very special place, especially if you know the couple really well. And so they came together, and I really enjoyed seeing that because they came together and had that very uncomfortable conversation and talked about what happened and how that wasn't supposed to happen and how that wasn't appropriate and how that makes them feel and how guarded they are. And it's not enough that it came from her, but like, it's really important that your significant other knows that you have like a support system, you know, because this is how, and I won't say that he's an abuser, okay, even though I said last week he walked in like a true abuser, which he did. But, when people are trying to manipulate you or hurt you, it's easier to do when you have no support system or where they feel like they can isolate you. So there's strength in numbers where there's somebody who cares about this young woman who is going to vocalize their concern for her and let you know that she will be protected, and vice versa. There are people that care about him that are going to vocalize that they are going to reprimand him or support him or protect him as well. It's important to have support on both ends. So I really enjoyed seeing that dialogue. Yes, it was a bit uncomfortable, but his aunt talked about how they had that conversation and she's never seen that side of him, and how, she talked to him and basically she said that that was not appropriate and they don't know where that's coming from. And, her friends and family voiced their concerns, and Taylor even kind of came to the rescue to clean it up because she saw him, I don't want to say getting beat up, because it could have been something completely different. And I think everybody handled themselves very well. But she still came to the rescue in terms of still wanting to show that connection to him because they are a married couple. I think he handled it really well. It could have, like I said, it could have gone in a different direction, but I think he handled it really well. And I will say this, I'm still not a fan of Taylor and Brandon. Because I would have, like, whatever conversation he seemed to have had with his aunt, I wish he would have been able to have with Taylor. Not in the sense of like, I don't know what they talked about, but his aunt is probably like a mother figure. So that dynamic is going to be different. But like I said last week, discussing of boundaries, discussing of needs, discussing of consequences, discussing of lines, rules of engagement when we're upset. Like, a lot of those things haven't been said yet. So Taylor's still kind of like, well, I hope this doesn't happen again, or give me something else to talk about. And to be honest, even though I'm not a fan of them, if you choose to move forward in a relationship, and truly move forward because you want the relationship to work and you want it to continue, then you have to move forward, okay? Whether we agree with you moving forward or not. So droning on about it, I will be honest, I was annoyed watching that episode when they were, that scene where they were in the kitchen, because it was like she started in on it again. And it's fine if you're not over it, but then you need to be very resigned to what that looks like. It can't be like, we're moving on, but we can't keep doing that back and forth. And that's why you see him shutting down, because he now doesn't know what to be. Now, did he create that? For sure. But if we're going to move on, then let's truly kill the horse and be done with it. Don't kill it, beat the dead horse, wake it up, kill it again, beat it again. It's enough. Otherwise it doesn't stand a chance. And if you don't want that, that's fine. But I think that, they do need to move on, because they won't really get anywhere for real if there is anywhere to get to, without kind of coming up for air from that conversation. And whether they work out or they don't, I like to watch these shows with the idea that sometimes and that's why I started these reviews, sometimes we watch people do stuff and we're like, oh God, that's awful, or I can't believe whatever, or she needs to get over that, or I can't believe he said that. And here we are mirroring them in our own real lives, and we're not seeing that. So if anything, watch that and see if that is you at any point, and things that you can work on, because that's kind of how I choose to watch it. So that is Brandon and Taylor. Next we have Michael and Meka. So I'm starting to like Michael and Meka, okay? I still don't get couples vibes from them. I still don't get this crazy chemistry, or I don't get much chemistry from them, to be honest. But I really feel like they turned a corner last night, specifically because they had family and friends over too, and the guys hung out with the guys, girls hung out with the girls, and they're in a better space. But I feel like they turned a corner when they talked about the rings. And I think that Meka handled that conversation exceptionally well, because Michael gets really cerebral about what he's talking about. And sometimes he doesn't get to the point either. We talk about Zach not always getting to the point, but Michael dances around. I mean, dances around being very direct and almost over analyzing it and getting in its own way. And his reason for the ring, as I told you, or not wearing the ring, as I told you several reviews ago, I was not okay with, because you know, you don't just get to take off your ring. And for those, because I read some comments, oh, I haven't worn my ring in a long time. Okay, you're like an anomaly. Most people do wear their rings. And if you and your spouse is okay with not wearing your rings, then you're not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the most people who are committed to wear their rings every day, and they wear their rings every day, and they expect their spouse to wear their rings every day. So people who would have a problem with their spouse not wearing their rings. That the ring represents you committing to someone else. And so you don't get to just take it off and on when you don't feel like being committed, or when the commitment isn't as exciting as it was before. True commitment is being committed long after the emotion, the exciting, beautiful, loving emotion that you had when you got committed leaves you and you're not in that space. So once again, he was kind of dancing around that, and she brought it up and said, you know, like, I still don't understand why you're not wearing your ring. And of course he tried to, you know, explain it in the way that Michael can. And she really pushed for that. And I want you to wear your ring. It's important. And I think as a spouse, it's important for you to share how you feel. Like, they're early on, okay? They're early on. So it's harder to express how you're feeling in emotion, because you're trying to figure this person out. You don't want to get them upset. You don't want to cause an argument. But I think this one was worth it. And they didn't argue. But I think it was worth it for her to express, this is important for me. Not only for you, but for me. Like, I want to wear my ring. And what that means. And it triggers me to believe, okay, every time we get upset, is he going to take his ring off? And you know, that might sound like, oh, don't overreact, but he has already conditioned her because he's already done it. So based on history, she has every right to believe that this is what he does, and he will validate and justify that. So I love that they had that conversation and he understood it, because I saw him thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And I'm glad that he just got it and was like, okay, I'm committed to wearing that. Because I think it's important for both of us. It's important to him too, which is why he took it off, even though it's so backwards. But he took it off because he felt like he wasn't worthy of it. So I'm glad that they had that conversation and they made a commitment to the ring, because that will be a lot of what marriage is. It's not necessarily what you feel like doing all the time. What are we committed to as a couple? What's important to us? What is important to me? What is important to you? How do we meet in the middle? If this thing is important to the both of us, then we have to commit beyond whatever. And I thought that was a mature perspective for her. And I liked how she pushed and expressed herself. And he needed help to see that. You know, your spouse is going to be stronger than you in various ways, and you'll be stronger in them than in various ways. And here, I feel like her strength, you know, a lot of us say, oh, well, Meka's tough, or she's over the top, or she's judgy, or she's like a little too assertive. Like, in this conversation, it served her. So gold star for Meka this week. But I think her and Michael are turning a corner. I saw on Unfiltered, though, that he said he didn't really trust her because he didn't get much emotion back when he was crying. So I think they both don't trust each other. She doesn't trust his word because of the whole plane and, you know, honeymoon incident. And she is maybe guarded now. And so she's not giving to him as much as he'd like, and he doesn't trust her. So there is some stuff there, but they can work through it. Just really effective communication and then follow up with action. But they got some good stuff going on. They had a good time with family and friends, which is also a good sign. I'm glad that they were able to have that conversation before their family and friends came, so that they didn't have to dive into that whole thing again, you know, because they would have said, oh, you're not wearing your ring, and then it would have been a thing. So glad it didn't have to be a thing. So that is Michael and Meka. Last, we have Katie and Derek. So I said a couple of reviews ago that Katie gave me like self-sabotage vibes, and then she showed and proved last week, she's continuing to do that. Katie is I don't know, Katie's starting to get on my nerves again. I will say that. First of all, Katie's lunch with her mom, she was like very rude. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but her mom was telling her basically, because she's putting all these stipulations. And here's the thing, Katie has this type, because she mentioned that I have a type. He's not necessarily my type. I'm not used to this. He's a little too this. Katie's type didn't want to commit to her. That's what I wish I could just jump in and say. Your type is probably that ex who didn't even care about you until 5 minutes before you did this show. So what she doesn't understand, and I can bet, I mean, she had to go on the show, so her relationships haven't worked out. What Katie doesn't understand is that her type is exactly what caused her to have to go down this route. And she's comparing Derek to this ex. She's saying she's not, but she is sabotaging this relationship because she's coming up with all the things and all the reasons why Derek is not, I wouldn't say good enough, but why he might be a problem. It's the he's never been in love thing. It's the I don't know if he'll fall in love with me in 8 weeks. Like, she is killing me with this. And anybody who has a problem with that is like, it's blowing my mind. Katie's saying within 8 weeks you should know if you're falling for this person. Based on what? Love is not like a 2 + 2 = 4 type of deal. Yes, spending time with someone, significant time, living with them within 2 months, yeah, you can get a good idea of where this is going, where your emotion is growing. You don't have to be in love with someone in 8 weeks. Who says that? To me, Katie might have the problem where she might fall in love too quickly, or might have dysfunctional attachment issues, because she's putting these stipulations that are getting in her way. And she was talking to her mom, and her mom was so right. Like, basically saying, don't keep looking for more, thinking that there's better out there, and then you miss out on this really great guy because there isn't better out there. She snapped at her mom and said, I don't like the way you said that. Something very rude. Something that, you know, some other moms wouldn't let her get away with. Not so easily. And then had the audacity to say, because her mom has been married twice, and her mom said, listen, I've been married twice, kind of just giving my perspective on life, and I've been here longer than you. And her mom was 100% correct in her assessment of what Katie possibly could do. You know, she basically says, well, because you had a baby, you had to be with this person. It was just super disrespectful, and she came off like a know-it-all little snot. She came off like such a brat and so rude in that conversation. You don't know it all. You're 26. Stop it. Like, just take the feedback. And the feedback was accurate. Mom wasn't saying something that was so random. Mom was saying, listen, don't keep looking for more and like letting go of somebody who's really, really great for you. I mean, what's the problem? You are doing that. You are self-sabotaging right now and getting in the way and finding things that don't line up to this guy, Derek, because you probably want to run back to this ex. So that annoyed me. I was done with Katie for this episode after that, because I just thought it was so disrespectful and so unnecessary. And I get it. This episode, you know, Derek overshares. Like, that's really gross. Like, don't get too comfortable in a relationship to where it's like, you know, there's no appeal because you've just, too much too soon is never really a good thing. Okay. So that's kind of annoying. And he has some maturity issues to work on as well. Like, it's not just all Katie. Derek has things to work on. Ways to be more mature, to be more open. And they both have to kind of get to know each other as a couple, because they like jumped up very quickly. They were like the perfect couple, and now it's like real life, and now it takes effort. And so it's one thing to say it, like he knows what he wants to do, and what he wants to do isn't wrong. Like, what he wants to do is a great formula, but now he has to like walk the walk or walk the talk. So that's, you know, the two of them. But I feel like if this relationship doesn't work out, and I still think it has great potential. If this relationship doesn't work out, I feel like it'll be more because of Katie than Derek at this point. if something else happens, then, you know, we'll see. It may change. The direction of whatever they have going on may change, but I think she needs to be more humble. I think that she thinks that she has more experience, so she's like in the hierarchy of this relationship, she's like higher. And just because you have more experience doesn't necessarily mean that you are the better asset to this relationship. And I feel like she thinks she is. That's gonna get in her way. So that's Katie. That's Katie and Derek. They spend time with family and friends. Of course, they had a good time, you know, but once again, she's talking to her girlfriends about, like, the oversharing. I understood that, you know, I was like, okay, that's too much. But the other reservations that she's having, she's finding. And, you know, you will find what you seek. Even if it's not even real, you will find what you seek. If you're looking for it, you will find it in some capacity. You will find something to validate it. You know, think about, like, oh, you're not feeling well. If you Google something, you're going to find something that is coinciding with your symptoms, even if they're not even real. You know, if you think about these times, like, where, like, let's say you think you're pregnant. You know, every commercial now has a baby on it, or it's a pregnancy test commercial, or every station is talking about newborns. You literally attract what you are looking for. So she has to be careful, because she's creating this self-fulfilling prophecy that this may not be the relationship for her. And, you know, it will happen if she wants it to. And I think she will be at a bigger loss than he is, because he's not scarred down by, you know, what all these expectations and this history that is continuing to haunt her, because she's still emotionally connected to this ex of hers, even though she says she's not. So anyways, that is Katie and Derek. Let me know what you guys thought. As always, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a great weekend.